Welcome back, my scumbags. In this video, we're going to talk about pretty much how college is becoming the new high school, right? It's mandatory for nothing, and it personally just is super expensive for no reason, you know? For something that's kind of pushed down your throat all throughout high school, you know, you would expect that it would be a lot more meaningful, right? And I guess if you go to college and you live in a dorm, you get that full college experience, then maybe, possibly, maybe like 1% of the time, it's actually worth it. No, I think college is not worth it unless you're going to become like a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, right? Something that you actually need to go to schooling for, something that makes sense. Like, hey, you need to be educated on this so you can go and go into the workforce and do this. But anything else could just be a training, right? Everything else is pretty much trainable. Like, I don't think you should have to send somebody to college to go and do marketing. Like, I feel like that's more just trial and error for the most part, considering that most marketing is basically just SEO and all that stuff. But even then, that's a certificate then. You know what I mean? Like, why go and get a 4-year degree when you can go get a certificate in 6 months to a year to do the same thing? Right? So you don't need to go to college, something that you can just take an online course for. Okay, cool. And you go and do that. Because, I mean, graphic design, marketing, right? All this stuff that would help you do what you're doing now, it's just trial and error. Like, I'm sure that there's plenty of people who will sit here and they'll make video after video after video after video. Like, look at someone like Mr. Beast, right? You know, most of the YouTubers, most of the content creators you see now are basically just, I guess, positive victims of trial and error. Hey, they just kept doing stuff until it worked for them. And that's ultimately what you got to do. Eventually, something you say, something you do is going to reach someone. You know what I mean? Especially with YouTube, although YouTube's kind of going down as well, you know. But going back to the main topic over college, it's like, I feel like, I mean, again, like, they make you take classes you really don't need. You know, like, you spend 4 years in high school taking English classes. You go into college, you got to take more English classes, more math classes, more science classes. Like, you got to take sociology or you have to take psychology, which pretty much for the most part doesn't really help you at all. Like, sociology, at least I liked when I took it because at least it made somewhat sense, just because it helped me understand society a little bit more. And I'm always kind of, you know, if you see based off the videos, obviously I look at society and I judge society based off of, I guess, my own moral compass, but I guess what ultimately makes sense. No, college is a fucking waste of time. Nobody fucking wants to go to college. Even if you go to cook, you could just go and cook and you can just go in your kitchen and cook something until eventually somebody tells you it tastes good. You don't really need to go into some fancy French school, you know, and drop all that money just to go and be a chef. You know, like Gordon Ramsay pretty much didn't even go to college. He just went and worked with fucking people until eventually he got what he wanted. But yeah, you don't need to, you know, go to college if you don't need to go to college. Going to college is, like, again, unless you're going to become a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that, it just makes no sense. Like, you're basically spending all this money to not get any actual benefit out of that. You know what I mean? Besides, well, oh, yeah, again, if you go and you get that full college experience, sure, you know what I mean? You get to be an adult for the first time in, you know, in your life. But to do what? To go and be like, oh, I'm going to party, I'm going to drink, I'm going to have sex, you know, like, so what? You know what I mean? Like, you can do all that stuff as an adult and not waste your money going to college. You know, there's just no use to it because you're taking classes you don't need to take. And for the most part, the biggest thing that makes people believe that college is a scam or that it's not really worth it, it's starting to become high school where it's like, oh, now it has to be mandatory due to the corporations. It would be the fact that corporations require you to have a degree, but then they also want you to have experience. And the fact that there's no real guarantee that once you leave your college, you're going to get a job in anything, right? You know, and like for me, myself, when I was getting out of my college, you know, and I got my degree, they pretty much said, you know, oh, well, you know, the economy isn't really good right now because I graduated like during the pandemic. So, of course, they're going to sit here and say, oh, there's not really a lot of jobs out here right now, and now we're out of the pandemic, there still ain't no jobs. So, I mean, and at that point, you're going to have people who will blame it politically, like, oh, it's Trump's fault, it's Biden's fault, it's Kamala's fault. At the end of the day, it's just the fact that there's a lot of jobs out there, and, you know, a lot of people just don't really understand how to get a job. There's not really a lot of jobs you can go and get. Like, a lot of people will go, they'll get a degree in something, and then they'll go and work in a completely different field that has nothing to do with what they went to college for, you know? And it just makes no sense. It's like, why spend all this money, especially upwards of, let's say, $30,000-$40,000 to get a degree in something, just for you to either decide either halfway through you don't want to do this because it's not what you thought it was, or you do end up going through with it and then you don't get a job. So ultimately, it's kind of just one big, waste of time. You're not really getting anything out of going to college besides, again, you know what I mean, that so-called college experience, Like, at this point, it's mostly a social checkpoint. Like, people go to college because if you say you don't go to college, if you say, oh, I'm not going to go to college, then people look at you like you had the plague. Like, oh, how could you not go to college? College is important. And if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful. But yet most of the people who are alive today, you know what I mean, and are successful didn't go to college. In fact, they barely even got through high school. Most of them either dropped out of high school and they don't have a high school diploma, or they have a GED and they're still way more successful than your friend who has a master's degree in social economics, you know what I mean, or liberal arts, or gender studies, right? All those bullshit ass fucking college courses and college degrees that these blue-haired liberals have, and then they wonder why, they're a barista at Starbucks serving a Javachino, like, come on. Like, no wonder you're doing it. It's like, I'm getting the strawberry acai refresher lemonades. Like, I mean, I used to work at a Starbucks, and that's pretty much who I was surrounded by. You know what I mean? Some of them were chill, and some of them really weren't. But for the most part, it's like you guys are working there, and that's what I understand, and that's the whole point. Is that it's like, okay, but like, it's not like you guys chose to work at Starbucks. It's like, oh, I have to work there because I know, but you got scammed into getting a degree in gender studies when, like, what is that? That's a waste of time. Of course you're not gonna get any job with that. You wasted your time doing that, So, like I said, at this point, it's basically just go to college because your parents want you to go to college, or teachers want you to go to college, or society is making you again conform into doing something that ultimately doesn't really get you anywhere, right? You know what I mean? Because you're going to get a degree and you're not going to get a job in the degree that you have, especially when you're being brainwashed into believing that some of these useless college degrees are actually going to get you somewhere. You know what I mean? Like being a philosopher. I mean, technically what I'm doing could be a philosopher. People could sit here and say, hey, this guy's a philosopher. This is his philosophy on life, is that, it's a waste of time. Basically, being a philosopher is no different than being an influencer, which pretty much is a very competitive, very, very, very competitive career field, So at the end of the day, if you guys disagree, like I said, feel free to post whatever you want into the comments. But I'm telling you that pretty much at this point, I've been saying this since I was young, that college is a scam and that you really ain't getting nowhere. And I think you have a better chance going to maybe a community college, or even, just getting a certificate in something that you're interested in. And you have a better chance doing that and being successful in that than you do if you go to college and get a associate's degree, or a bachelor's, a master's, a doctor. I mean, a doctorate is different, but getting something and basically getting a degree in something that just doesn't matter, something that's not going to make you any money. There's no real career field for it, But like I said, I digress. If you guys disagree, feel free to drop it in the comments. Other than that, this is Low Class Scum, and I'll see you guys in the next one.